Yay, anime reflux. Woo.
Hey,
So we're
Should
here.
have should have fixed my chair first. Wee. There we go. Okay,
Joe
so
tomorrow, Joe today.
was that what it? I remember it was a weird thing of like no, yeah. Tomorrow's Joe is what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Champion Joe, I think, is what a translated name is that is used in the West. It is incorrect. It is supposed to be Tomorrow's Joe.
That's right. Tomorrow's
Because
Joe.
that is an actual line in the show. It is very much supposed to be Tomorrow's Joe. Um, so yeah, this is a classic boxing anime, and by classic, I mean this fucking 70s shit with like
Oh yeah, it's
way back in the
crusty.
day. Yeah, it's old and crusty and clearly all done by hand for every single frame, and it kind of looks great. Like, yeah, it's fucking janky as shit, but also that really works for it somehow.
It has a very nostalgic feel to it.
Yeah, like, um, I it feels very much like it's a very new way of doing things because like anime is only like started in like the 50s 60s I think. I mean, Astro Boy is considered the first one, but I don't quite know if that's entirely accurate, but it was very much around then when anime started becoming a thing. um I want to say that was the 60s. I would have to look that up. But yeah, this was really really early in the the style's development. Um, Googling stuff. 1952. Okay, so it's been around for about 20 years. So still nailing stuff down in terms of what the style would look like. Um, and a lot of the standard animation tricks that have been used for 3 decades or so by now, that had been just kind of standardized and codified of here's how you do things so you don't have to spend a lot of money animating things frame by frame. A lot of those hadn't been invented yet. So um, it actually has a unique flavor to how they animated the show, which you kind of don't get anymore. Um, like most shows nowadays do kind of look the same in a lot of ways. The art style is different. The animation tends not to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, this because of all of those factors, this show has a fairly unique look to it and style to it. Um, but yeah, so this is basically the progenitor to every boxing anime and series that came out of Japan since, uh, because it is regarded that highly as a classic, to the point where Hajime no Ippo, one of the characters is basically fucking Joe. The
Oh, wow.
Takamura, his backstory is literally fucking Joe. Like, straight up, it's okay, let's do the summary. So, there is a dude who just a drifter, just sort of walking through into and through a Japanese town in I don't want to say a rural area, but like it's a really like rough and kind of downtrodden
I
area.
love
And it's
how
like,
trashy everything looks.
yeah, everything
Like
is
this,
kind of shitty. This is not a metropolitan or anything even close to it. This is, yeah,
he looks like he's going through some like grimy slums, you know, and
yeah,
like you could tell me that this is post-apocalypse, and I'd half believe you.
yeah, yeah. That is very true. I would absolutely believe that. It looks sort of like, um, if your already dead guy would just to start walking at him from the other direction, I would totally have believed it. Like
Yeah, the
fucking,
aesthetic is just on point.
yeah. I've forgotten what that guy's name is, but it's not really important. Uh, let's talk about other anime while we talk about this one. So yeah, he's just whistling to himself as he walks through a town, and we get establishing shots of the town. There's a homeless guy who realizes he's out of booze and doesn't want to be out of booze because he'll be hungover and he knows it's gonna suck. Uh, so he tries to blag some booze out of a bar, I think it was. And they're like, no, fuck off, we know your deal. You have no money, go away. In less polite terms, I guess. We get a bunch of kids that are just kind of screwing around and doing kid things, but um, at first I thought they were just kind of urchins. Like this is supposed to be like a rundown area, so I thought they were just like homeless kids. They're just kind of doing. I think they're just like regular kids,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of fucking about. And then Joe comes into town and he's just whistling and he the entire episode, well, most of the episode, he is just whistling a weird tune, and it's very high in the mix for what. Uh, I don't even know how they recorded this, to be perfectly honest, because this is again like the 70s. This is early on. But yeah, so he's just whistling to himself, not really giving a shit about anything that's around him. Then he runs across the kids, I want to say. This was a week ago when I watched this. I very much wanted to watch more, but I didn't.
He is walking down the street. The kids try to mess with him, and like, um, he's able to be like, kind of shake off their pranks and stuff they're trying to
Oh
pull on
yeah,
him. He's like, "Hey, leave me
they're trying
alone."
to do pranks on him and stuff, and he's just like no sells all of them.
Yeah,
It's like he knows exactly what they're up to from the word jump, and yeah.
just continues on whistling the main theme of the show, and ends up finding a couple of baddies who are carrying a little girl against her will away somewhere.
Yeah, because
She stole Odin.
yeah, she stole noodles from a dude, and they're like, "Hey, uh, we're criminals, so we're gonna take any excuse to just take someone off the fucking street." Basically,
Yeah, they're not the law. They're just like, okay, well, you come with us now.
yeah, probably yakuza thugs taking a little girl off the street. That's probably
Yeah,
not
I
going
think
to end well.
it is stated later on that these are Yakuza.
Yeah, like what else were they going to be? Like really?
Hmm.
So yeah, this is when Joe decides to intervene, but obliquely. Like it's not entirely directly because, hey, you're kidnapping a little girl. That's kind of not okay. But also because I'm just walking in the fucking street. You're expecting me to bow and all this Yakuza shit and be respectful to me, and he's just kind of like, fucking no. Which is as good as saying, hey, put down that little girl to the Yakuza, because that's kind of their thing. Of just like, hey, everyone be respectful to us, and if you're not, then we're going to beat the shit out of you. So, fight happens, and Joe does really, really well.
The drunken guy I was watching, and he's like, yeah, that's a killer punch, I see. Boxing!
Yeah. And he gets all pissy when he starts kicking them instead, and he's like, no, what the fuck are you doing? Punch. Yeah, when I say that this is fucking one of Ippo's characters, this is Takamura. This is exactly Takamura's backstory. He was fighting some thugs, and the Coach Kamigawa just happened to be watching and saw Takamura accidentally use a professional level punch without realizing. And he's like, hey, I gotta train that guy. And, that's what happens here. Like, the homeless guy is watching Joe just beat the shit out of these three dudes and is like, hey, this kid could be something, kind of thing. So the guys get kicked to shit. The little girl is safe. Yay. She is smitten. Kind of. And he's like, yeah, okay. You're a little girl. Go away. It's cool.
She's like,
you're like 10.
She's like, why are you making that face? You really have to go to the bathroom or something?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you're still young enough that you're in diapers, right?
Yeah, just like, fuck you. It's really raw. Holy shit.
Bullying children.
Yeah. I mean, what else are children good for? Yeah.
This is our protagonist.
Yeah, so homeless guy is like, hey, you're pretty good at the fighting thing. Be a boxer. I can train you and stuff. It'll be great. And Joe's like, fucking no. Dude. Yeah, whatever, okay. Mr.
I got my own
guy.
stuff.
Homeless drunk.
I still smell the booze on your breath. I don't think I can trust you. This seems like a scam. Yeah.
Like, all in all, pretty sensible dude for the most part. So, well, for the most part. So yeah, he just fucking keeps going. He doesn't care. And then we move on to homeless guy. I forget his name. I know we got it, but I can't remember what it was.
I'll find it.
But yeah, he is sitting with other homeless guys, and one of them offers him booze that he managed to get.
Danpei Tange, or just Danpei, was the
Tange.
drunk guy.
Let's go with Tange. I think that's the name that they used. Yeah. And he's like, I quit. Because I saw this guy and he had such a good punch that I want to train him to be a great boxer. And I can't do that if I'm drunk, so I quit. And that's pretty cool. Yeah, this is pretty standard anime trope of, like, inspired by the protagonist kind of thing. But again, very, very early. So, I I mean, obviously, this is still like storytelling tropes that have been around for hundreds of years, but still, this is codifying a lot of things that would come up in future sports, anime, and to a slightly lesser extent, shonen fare. So then we get the homeless guy going to see Joe again. And Joe's like, "No, I'm not interested. I don't want to be a boxer, and I don't trust you to be anything worthwhile as a trainer, even if I did." And the homeless guy's like, "Yeah, okay. I'm cleaning up my act. I've quit drinking." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, sure." Falls asleep in the open air on like a riverbank, I think. And the homeless guy gives him his coat. Then Joe wakes up, finds out he's got the coat covering him like a blanket, and immediately goes to return it because, like, dude, fucking no. None of this. None of that. Shame on you, kind of thing. Like, I don't want to be a boxer. Leave me alone. I don't want your coat. I don't want to owe you anything. No. And then the Yakuza come back. And they're like, "Hey, you beat some of my guys up. So, yeah, get them." Tanpei comes in and is like, "Okay, no, he's going to be a boxer. So if you want to get to him, you go through me."
Well, that happens a little bit later. What first happens is the fight, and he's winning, and then Tanpei's like, "Yeah, get him, right, left."
Yeah.
And then the Yakuza guy's like, "Oh, yeah, screw this. Take out your weapons." And everybody starts pulling out knives. And then Joe is like, "Yeah, I can take you." And then Tanpei's like, "No, you can't." And knocks him out, and is like, "Okay, now if you want to get to him, you have to go through me," and lays on top of his body.
Which I guess the Yakuza weren't willing to just stab the shit out of a guy that they don't technically have a grudge with.
Their intent was let's teach him a lesson, and then he starts taking out more of the guys. It's like, okay, this is embarrassing. Let's just kill him.
So yeah, that's pretty much where the episode ends, though.
Yeah, Joe wakes up and it's just like, "Hey, let me go!" And it's just like, they all have knives, dude.
They all have knives, and they're willing to only give me a kicking, so this is fine. This is pretty cool. This is actually pretty good. I really want to watch more. At the same time, this really made me want to watch Ippo again. So,
I could definitely see that, yeah.
But yeah, like the last time we got like a really old classic anime, I think like Fist of the North Star was way after this. Like I think that was 80s, but like the last time we got a classic anime that rolled up, I didn't watch it because that's apparently a thing we do or started to do around then, and I feel like I dropped the ball, so now everyone's dropping the ball a little bit. But that's fine, whatever. My fault. But yeah, I missed out on that one, so I feel like I'm getting the style change of the old ways kind of thing as an experience for pretty much the first time. And yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. They did some things that you kind of don't see in how fights are done nowadays. Like, nowadays, the kind of thing you would expect would be a medium shot with both fighters, and you can see the punch happening, because that's the important part, right? The punch. So you can see the guy that's punching, you can see the guy that's getting punched, you can see the punch, and that's how you do it. In this one, it's more like, okay, we can't, that would take so much time and money, so we're coming up with a very specific shortcut that we can do that will look good stylistically for this show. And that was just sort of super close in on Joe's head and eyes and following them as he tracks enemies. And that implies where all of the enemies are. And then you just have super close in of the hits. Because that's a lot easier to do in terms of positioning and posing. So you can just have a quick cut of a fist moving and hitting someone just really close in. So it's pretty much just the arm and the body that's getting hit. And then back to the eyes. And like the flicking of the head and eyes as he's looking around, watching his opponents and gauging where they are and what they're doing. And then back to another hit. And it's quick and choppy. And it looks a little odd. But it's also really effective for just sort of conveying a lot of information with very little animation.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool as how they did that. Yeah. So it's sort of like there are a lot, like I said early in the episode, there are a lot of shortcuts that have just sort of been codified as things that you do to save money. So everyone does those now. Those didn't exist. So a lot of the time, this show can't do them. Because they hadn't been invented yet, a little bit. But at the same time, they still kind of wanted to save, money in the animation and not have to do a fuckload of work that they didn't have to do. So they came up with their own. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, seeing it done differently is interesting on its own, in a way.
Yeah, I agree. Slice, are you still there?
That's probably a no.
I think he died.
Yeah. I want to type a message. Yeah. We'll ping him. So...
I think he disconnected. Slicer?
Working now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was curious, which sucks. But yeah, that is an appeal of watching older series. You get to see those techniques that don't really. The technology wasn't quite there yet, but they tried their best.
Yeah, like after watching this, it feels really unfair, but at the same time, I would probably be disappointed to watch like standard shonen fare and just see them do the exact same thing I've seen dozens of shows do. Because, like, yeah, these are tricks and almost tropes of animation that everyone does, but everyone does them, so it feels like it lacks creativity, almost. Like I say, that feels unfair to say, but at the same time, it's... You see it so often and done in such very, very, very similar ways.
I do feel like there are shows that definitely push the bounds on what they can get away with in terms of like animation.
In a good way or a bad way? Like push the bounds, what does that mean?
I mean, in a good way. Like I've seen shows use different techniques to change up how they animate certain things. I saw it a lot of Mob Psycho, for example.
Yeah, there's
Um,
quite a few of recent years that seem to be changing things up a lot. Like I've heard and seen some things from Demon Slayer that seem to do some things very differently that have been wildly successful, obviously. Um, but that also comes from budget and fairness. Um, but yeah, like it's the standard and ordinary in the way that things that have just always been done that way for the past 30 years that just seem like another one of these. Cool. Okay. That would be maybe a little bit more disappointing to me now, I guess.
yeah, I get you.
Hmm.
There's there's definitely shows out there where you can look at it and be like they didn't really put in the effort to go that extra mile.
Hmm. Yeah. And you know, you can understand that a lot of that is by necessity. Once a technique for how to shortcut how to do animation exists, people are going to use it. That's just the bottom line. Once someone's figured out, hey, this is so much cheaper, we're going to do it this way, everyone's going to copy him to do it cheaper. That's just how everything works. Um, but I feel like that was a symptom of how things had been done for so long. Of like, yeah, pretty much everything was hand animated until like I want to say the early 2000s when computer animation started to become a thing, and that became a cost cutting measure. Um, and then as that has progressed to becoming not just a cost cutting measure where they can just do certain things with computer animation and do it way quicker and way easier, it's almost becoming the standard practice to use computer animation instead of hand drawn. And because of that, they're able to do a lot more interesting animation styles and handle different cuts differently and play around with things a little more than they used to be able to, I guess.
One of my favorite movies is still The Black Cauldron, and that's the animated movie that nearly killed Disney's animated studios
Yeah, I remember that movie.
because they put so much budget and so much effort into it, and they still had to cut things out. But like, it shows like every single frame of picture, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not feasible because again, it
It's
literally.
money. Money is the thing. It is a resource that you have to work around. There is people like to throw around the phrase unlimited budget works from like Fate stuff because it looks so good and they can just afford to put a fuckload of money into it, but even that's not infinite.
The real
And it's only
accomplishment is how they able to get so much that they do with the budget they have.
Hmm.
Fate's budget is only so high because they're in a, they for sure earn money.
Yeah. Them JPEGs cost, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, even having that kind of cash cow doesn't give you unlimited money, and everyone has to cut corners somewhere, and everyone does. It's just a matter of everyone kind of simplifying things to the point where everyone does it the same way. That has become more noticeable to me now because of watching this episode, which is an unfortunate side effect. But oh well. Yeah. Whoops. So, let's, it is what it is.
Let's roll a new one.
Yeah. I'm sad now.
I rolled a 26.
Bear with me, I've got to pull up the thing. 26 is Z.
How many do we have there?
Not many. In fact, I'm going to count them.
Maybe 10?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know what the yellow means, so I'm going to say 9.
All right.
It might have been something we already passed over or vetoed once.
Or
Well,
it was something that was on another site that we don't know where it was. So I'm just going to not for now and maybe ask patient about it later. So 9.
I rolled a 9.
From 9, okay. All right. That's the thing. Oh, we missed one I kind of wanted to do. Oh well.
What do we got? Oh, Zone of the Enders Idolo.
I assume because the way patient does these, he figured out that this is the first one in Zone of the Enders. There are other ones.
Okay. It takes place. It's one episode. Is this a movie?
You would have to
I
check
think this
that.
is. I'm checking. I think this is a movie. It is a movie.
There is a show. Zone of the Enders Dolores I.
Okay. Let's see.
But this might be a case of like that one Idol show that we did way back in the day, which was there was a film and then there was an anime that was a sequel to it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, and I found the dub as well.
Yeah, there's a dub.
49-year-old James Lynx was an officer, LEV pilot, in the United Nations Global Army. One day he received a notification that his wife, a Martian scientist, was killed during a lab experiment. Hateful and resentful for letting her go, his children blamed him and cast him aside. Depressed and in despair, James quit the military and took up a job as a transporter between Earth and Mars. He had some slight hope of his wife still being alive, and to find her he wanted to be out there. After a few years, he seemed to have given up all hope and turned to drinking, until one day he receives an orbital frame by the name of Dolores, sent by his dead wife. Once again, he dares to hope and sets off on a wild and wacky adventure to find the truth and reunite his family.
Wild and wacky adventure means it comes off as very tonally jarring for the rest of
Oh,
that
that's
paragraph.
so totally dissonant. Oh, no. Why would you end the summary with that?
That was like really hard boiled, super serious, and then
Yeah,
wacky,
like
what
he
an
was a
adventure.
military pilot, but his wife died tragically in a lab accident. He lost himself to drinking and his children abandoned him. But then, one day, he went on a wild and wacky adventure in the stars.
What? Sure. You know what? I want to see how wild and wacky this adventure actually is, or if that summary is just screwing with me.
Wasn't this a game?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was. Wild and wacky adventure. Okay. No vetoes going up?
No,
I'm saving my veto. Zone of the Enders came out originally PlayStation 2, 2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an anime based off a game.
Yeah.
The wacky and wild part kind of won me over. I'll admit.
All right.
You know the first episode of this is going to be all fucking gritty space noir. And then right at the end of the episode, we're going to get a cute fucking mascot character that shows up in the last 20 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how you doing? I'm here to help you with your drinking problem and the fact that your kids hate you.
God damn.
Yeah.
That. It's jarring as shit. Oh, that's got worse. How did you make it worse?
So, thus ends another episode of Casey being an anime dilettante. So, cool. Thanks for listening to me ramble about how it feels to actually watch like classics and stuff. That's cool. Zone of the Enders is what we're doing next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you guys.